Hello and welcome to Today in Brevard Sports. I'm Lee Nessel.
And I'm Brian McCallum.
Get your paddles out because today we take a look at two forms of paddle sports and not necessarily in the water. First, we visit the Space Coast crew team in Indian Harbor Beach for a lesson in rowing. Then it's all on wheels as I try my balance at something most of you probably have never heard of, land paddling.
We'll also introduce you to a 62-year-old who just recently took up boxing. And Peter Kerasotis will join us in the studio, ready to cover a lot of ground with his commentary.
We also have our weekly surf report, and there just might be some good news for those who have gone too long without waves.
Well, much to my chagrin, Lee volunteered us for a lesson in rowing. We each got in a different 8-boat recently with a group of Brevard high school students who compete around the state. But this was no river cruise along the Banana River. Here's a look at our experience and the group that inspired our adventure.
1. It's okay. It's no Little League crew, right? 2. Chin up. 3. Look at Vanessa. Look at the girl in the parking lot. 1. You would just want to be able to breathe. That's why you do that. 2. 3. 1. 2. 3. Good. Space Coast Crew was established in 1996 for Brevard County high school students. It's a competitive high school sport for the state of Florida. And because the sport is probably one of those it's not recognized as a varsity sport in high schools, we pull from many high schools in the county. Any Brevard County high school student can come out and row for Space Coast Crew. And we compete all over the state of Florida. Crew is a year-long sport. We begin at the beginning of school in the August time frame with our fall training and something that we call head racing season. Very long races, just a few of those, and we move into the sprint racing season after the holiday break. Again, the sport runs just about year-long for students, so it's pretty grueling, pretty demanding. We have a very, very good group of kids out, very high achievers both academically and athletically. Today we're going to take the Florida Today newscasters out and give them a lesson in rowing, said to be the ultimate team sport.
Push off in 2. 1, 2.
Pull through, row. Legs back on. 1, 2, 3. Catch. Row. 1, 2, 3. Catch. Row.
They're hanging in there okay for the first day.
Starboard's just a little bit of pressure. Here we come, Morgan.
I began in 2001. I did 4 years of high school crew here at Space Coast, and then I did 4 years of crew at college for Central Florida Rowing, the men's crew club at UCF. And now I wish to go on and pursue and teach everyone else how to row and give them the sport and love the sport.
Rowing is, again, like golf, where there's a lot of thinking about what you're doing. It's not just using your physical power. You've got to think about sliding forward, extending your arms, bending at the right time. And I tend to overanalyze, so when I think about something too much, that's when I mess up, and that happened to me several times today.
Oh, no. You guys got it.
Don't slip.
On 3, 2. Don't go.
Guys, Bob.
All right, this is Sam. He was sitting behind me in the boat, and I almost got tossed out twice. Can you explain what I was doing wrong?
She caught a crab. And what that means is the oar gets stuck under the water, and it basically, you get stuck and you almost get thrown out of the boat.
But other than that, how did I do?
You did really well, considering that you've been rowing for 1 day, or less than an hour. She did really well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Hey, now you need to throw her in.
No! Well, that was a lot of fun, but what was not caught on tape, thankfully, were my 2 near ejections. The slang, as we just mentioned in the video, was called catching a crab. and they went over that with us. You were very fortunate to not have that happen to you, but the paddle goes in the water and you don't get it at the right angle, so you can't lift it out of the water, but the other 7 people in your boat continue rowing, so the boat continues to move backwards. Right. Now think about that. My oar's in the water, I can't get it out. The boat's being thrust backwards by 7 other people, so my oar, well, the end of it gets thrust into the body, and it threw me out of my seat, pulled me out of the shoes, and they did say people do get ejected. Honestly, I'm really glad that didn't happen to me. And a quick trip to the chiropractor fixed my back, got everything back in place. You know, it was a really nice break being able to forget about the office, the phone, the email, and just get in the rhythm with the people in the boat. I don't know if you felt that way, that it was nice and calm.
You know, very peaceful out there. There's a lot to think about, and that took some of the pleasure away just because your mind is busy, or at least my mind was busy with what I was doing. As far as catching a crab, I made the decision that if I messed up, I was just going to stop because I was concerned. And one thing you realize when you get out there, because I didn't play team sports, you know, interscholastically, is that they're counting on you. Other people are counting on you. Mm-hmm. And I've written a story that'll be in the paper today that that's what a lot of the kids like about it, is the team sport aspect. So you get out there and you realize that you don't want to mess up for the other people.
Right.
And that's probably what propels the best teams along to victory. But there are still ways you can row individually, and I understand that you've recently learned something new that probably most people don't know about paddling.
When I heard about the relatively new sport of land paddling, I wanted to try it out. I was told by the company that makes the equipment that it had a crossover relationship to surfing, specifically stand-up paddle surfing, which is something becoming more popular here in Brevard County. But you know what they say about swimmers, right? Of course, most people know I'm a swimmer. Don't expect much coordination from us on land. So to make sure it was an accurate assessment, I brought along a real surfer for his opinion as well. Nessel from Florida today. I'm here with Scott McIntosh from Kahuna Creations, and he's brought some really cool, I'd say toys, but they're actually workout equipment. I think you can have fun and work out on them, so he's going to help us describe them. What do you have here today?
What we're going to be doing today is called land paddling. It's a combination of longboard skateboarding and the same concepts as stand-up paddle surfing. We're going to be using a land paddle, which is a big stick from Kahuna Creations, and combining the two to create a very exciting and thrilling exercise.
Now I saw Scott, he hopped on one, gave us a little sample ride. I'm not so sure I can do it, hence my protective gear, but we're going to do it. I brought Ian here, who's an actual surfer, and we'll see what we think.
You can use the stick as a balance, you can use it as a brake, and because it's in front of you, your natural tendency when you're losing your balance is to move forward and down. So the stick being in front of you is probably the most comfortable for you. And you can catch yourself, you can move yourself, and you don't have to take your whole body weight off of center because your hands are out here.
Because I will go into the curve and over into the grass, I'm sure.
Jump off.
There you go.
Okay, how do you stop?
Just drag it on the ground. There you go.
Okay, so Ian, you did much better at this than I did. Clearly, you've been surfing for years. So tell me, what did it feel like? What was it a workout?
Yeah, very much so. It was a very unique experience. It was the closest thing I've ever felt to being in the water, and I was actually on dry land, because when you're usually skateboarding, you have to take one foot off to gain momentum. Whereas with the land paddling, you use this big stick, and that helps you get momentum so you can keep both feet on the board, and it just felt like ripping the sidewalk. It was a great experience.
This is a longboard skateboard. This is called the Pohaku Surf Rider. And if you'll notice on the top, the images are the old Hawaiian ancient images, the Pohaku images. And in those images, you'll find a man riding a board, a surfboard. So in our theme, what we do is we really focus on the ancient Hawaiians, that they originated all board athletics is really what they did. Big Stick, Kahuna Big Stick, is a land paddle. And one thing I want to show you, at the base of the paddle is a heel. A lot of people think that those are wheels, but it's a heel, and it's used to push you along. You set it on the ground just like a paddle. You push and motivate or move yourself forward as you're riding. When you're riding, you'll come up to the center, switch, and come down.
I think having watched it, and you've been out there, so I'll ask you, my question is, does the stick take away from the speed? Does it distract from what you're doing, from the enjoyment? Does it, do I like rowing and shot putting, does it put too much in your head?
No, actually the stick is used to get propulsion. They said that some people get up to 60, 65 miles an hour. A lot of, when places where there's hills like California and Hawaii, we don't have that luxury here. They say to get that simulation, you're gonna have to find a parking garage, and you know, some people do that as well to get enjoyment out of it. They also have this nice catalog, and they show the kids that they make the sticks in different sizes and the boards for kids to get into it. And if I had my choice, I was gonna pick out the Wahine. They have one here for the women, so this one right here. Anyway, that's was a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm not supposed to be on wheels.
Interesting.
It proved that. No doubt. The boards and sticks can be purchased online at kahunacreations.com. They're also now carried in Maui Nick's surf shops, but the nearest retailers to us are in Daytona Beach. The boards range in price from $159 to $299, and the sticks cost between $89 and $149. But I guess for the enjoyment that they say you get, it's probably worth every dollar. But if you prefer your paddling in the water, there may be some moderately good news at the beach. Surf is still difficult to find, but Bob Freeman does his part to help you find it. This week, he offers a little more hope in our weekly surf report.
Okay, thanks. Well, we're hoping for a little bit more surf this weekend. As you know, it's been pretty flat the past 3 weeks. We've had strong southwest winds, been pushing any bit of swell at all off of our beaches. Few people have been scoring a few longboard waves here and there at certain tides, kind of getting lucky, but this weekend things will change a little bit. Most notably, the winds will finally come around from the south-southeast. That'll help push in a little more swell. I'm not expecting much, but we are very hopeful. We're keeping our fingers crossed that it'll at least be a little bit bigger than it has been. So here's what I'm seeing for this weekend. Saturday, I'm hoping that it'll be at least knee-high, maybe some thigh-high sets with a light southeast breeze. Sunday, pretty much the same, knee, possibly thigh-high range. We'll just have to wait and see, but there's a pulse out there, should be sending in a little bit of swell. Keep in mind, for this weekend, though, we have a high tide more in the middle of the day, so that means the best opportunity for rideable surf will be in the early mornings or late afternoons. And the swell direction is a little bit out of the northeast, so I would expect that the bigger waves would be in the Patrick area, Melbourne Beach area, Boardwalk area, and all of that, where I expect that the northern Cocoa Beach spots in Cape Canaveral will be much smaller. So anyway, hope that you can find something to ride this weekend. Not big, but not flat either, so get out there and have a great time. Maybe I'll see you out there. This is Bob Freeman for Florida Today.
Thanks, Bob. Well, everyone knows the stock market has had more downs than ups in the last year. I know my 401k knows it. Our next story features a Brevard stockbroker's attempt to find an escape. At the same time, he was able to do something beneficial for the community.
I try to get down here twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays. I do this for the exercise. I'm a stockbroker, and around January, if you've been following the market, it's been pretty rugged the last year. And I was looking for doing something to relieve the stress. So I did two things. One is I started taking piano lessons, and then I always wanted to learn to do the speed bag. So I Googled the gyms in the area and called here one night. Gary answered the phone and said, come on down. It was a Thursday night. Come on down Saturday morning about 11 o'clock. And I'll show you how to do the speed bag. And when I walked in here, it was like, oh, awesome. He showed me how to do the speed bag, and really 2 hours later, I went home just totally exhausted, from punching the bags, working out, and I asked him if I could come back. And he said, sure, come on back. And then came back on Tuesday, and then I asked him, I said, could you teach me how to box? And he said, sure. But I appreciate what he is doing for the community. This is a nonprofit organization. This is open, I believe, 7 days a week, and he's here all the time. and I kind of asked him, what do you need any help with? And he said he really needed a van in order to transport these kids on weekend trips. And so as it turned out, I said, okay. So made a donation to the point where he could get a van. It's out in the parking lot, and he's all excited. But again, I think it's great for the community. And I think I'd like to see more people get behind it because it does offer a lot for the kids, the young kids around here, or adults too, mostly for the kids.
Peter Kerasotis, Florida Today's columnist, joins us. And Peter, my favorite thing about your commentaries is that you take national stories and give them a local angle, and that's exactly today's a perfect example of that. What have you got for us?
Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about Tim Wakefield. Not just Tim Wakefield, but also Prince Fielder, two O'Galley High School graduates. Both have made the Major League Baseball All-Star team, and got to talk to Tim Wakefield about it last Tuesday, and don't really get a chance to talk to Prince much anymore. But what I really liked about this is, well, several things. Right off the bat, this is a guy who well deserves to make the All-Star team. 16 years in baseball. There's been a couple of times in Tim's career where he has had outstanding first halves of the season, leading the league in ERA, maybe leading the league in wins. Didn't make the All-Star team, and now here again he's leading the league, or at least tied for the American League in wins this year with 10-3 coming up to the break. Finally gets selected at age 42 to the All-Star game. And when I talked to him last Tuesday, and it'll be my column this upcoming Sunday, he was really, really excited about this. And a lot of times you talk to guys and they try to poo-poo it or act like it's no big deal. Tim is not acting that way. It is a big deal. And at 42 years old now, he becomes the second oldest player to make the All-Star team for the first time. Now, the oldest player to have made an All-Star game for the first time was the great pitcher Satchel Paige. But you got to put an asterisk next to that because he was kept out of baseball because baseball wasn't integrated, didn't join the major leagues until he was 42 years old. So Tim really becomes sort of like the oldest player ever to make the All-Star game for the very first time. And if you have followed Tim's career, and a lot of us here in Brevard County have, because not only did he play at O'Galley High School, but he also played at Florida Tech, was a great, actually a first baseman at Florida Tech, and was drafted into pro baseball as a first baseman. And then when his career wasn't panning out as a first baseman slugger, he had a knuckleball that became sort of his ticket to the major leagues. And I actually think it's that knuckleball that he throws that kind of hurt him, because people look at it as a gimmick pitch, as something that they don't take seriously, but you can't not take his results seriously. And to be 10-3 in the American League this year, it's well deserved for him. So he's really excited, and I know his teammates are also very excited for him. I was looking at some interviews done on Nessel, the New England Sports Network, and they were interviewing a bunch of his players, and like Jason Bay and Kevin Youkilis and Dustin Pedroia. And Jason Bay said that there would not be a guy in that clubhouse, in that locker room, that would not, if they were going to the All-Star game, would not have given up their spot so that Tim could go. I mean, that's how excited his teammates are for him, and that really kind of gives you an insight into what kind of guy he is. So really a big congratulations to Tim Wakefield, local guy, making the All-Star game, and he'll join Prince Fielder, and it might be the only high school in the country that actually has two players playing in the All-Star game, O'Galley High School.
And another local story with a national twist is right down the road. We weren't on last week, so Peter didn't have a chance to give us his thoughts on some of the lose some, gain some that the Magic have been going through since the playoffs have ended.
Well, we're talking about the trade that brought Vince Carter to the Magic, and they gave up a lot, I think. And here's the way I look at it. Hedo Turkoglu, Vince Carter. I don't think Hedo matches up with Vince as far as the offensive player that Vince Carter is. And I think Vince is going to be very, very motivated at age 32, kind of a local guy, lives in Orlando, grew up in Daytona Beach, to kind of really make a mark now at this stage of his career. So Vince Carter, a better offensive player, Hedo Turkoglu, a better defensive player, kind of a wash. So I think they gave up a lot. It's kind of a roll of the dice.
Interesting as always.
Thank you, Peter. That's all the time we have this week for Today in Brevard Sports. Thank you for joining us.
And join us again next week on this same station and online. Meanwhile, follow us in the print edition of Florida Today and online at floridatoday.com.